This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Missouri. I am here with NextGen Ethics. Since 2013, they teach and guide others in understanding AI's ethical implications while integrating responsible AI practices to build a harmonious relationship with technology. I am joined here with Laura Miller, who is the founder, CEO, which is Chief Ethics Officer. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let's start off a little bit about yourself. You're formally educated from the University of Missouri, St. Louis, with a BA and an MA in philosophy. With many honors and as an award-winning recipient as a humanitarian, you have been recognized even by NASA. You're a respected philosophy instructor, and you sit on several tech advisory boards and on the board of a nonprofit serving the houseless. Share with us how this journey to further ethical AI innovation began for you.
Well, it's interesting because, and you even mentioned, early years in 2000, but, there's an ongoing joke in my family that if we knew that philosophy tackled those big questions that don't have easy answers, my mom claimed she would have signed me up when I was 8. I've always been fascinated by the way that our world works and the ways that it doesn't work so well and the challenges that appear to us, whether they're through the homeless or houseless, or whether they're through technology and our latest innovations and how they impact people where they are in their lives. So my journey has been an evolution of me. It didn't really come out of right field. It just kind of grew through different areas of interest until I finally realized that those questions I'd always been struggling with, the causes, the topics, were actually at home in philosophy. And then I doubled down, got 2 degrees, and then launched myself into the big wide world, officially an ethicist, trained and skilled, not just curious. And well, the world had a lot of challenges waiting for me too. And one of our biggest is technology.
Yeah, I mean, the story you have is unique because the fact that you kind of just moved into this entire industry was very cool. We now live in an ever-changing AI-dominated world. To the casual user, would you say most do not even understand why ethics and AI should be in the same discussion?
It's interesting. I think people actually do understand why ethics and AI should be in the same conversation. The interesting thing is, I don't think that when they recognize problems, they recognize them as ethical ones, but they recognize the problems even if they don't know what to call them. They know there's a problem when technology gives it a wrong answer. They know that there's a problem when information gets leaked through various software. They understand that privacy is a concern, bias is a concern. None of these words are unfamiliar, but recognizing that they belong under the umbrella of ethics is not a conversation many have. Ethics departments and majors tend to be pretty small. There aren't a great number of us, and well, honestly, there aren't a great number of us that, well, present as women either. So while I think society gets the problems, I haven't quite known what to call them or to realize how interconnected they are, that there's a discipline that can bring them together. And philosophy is that discipline that puts them together under ethics.
So really that awareness is there, but how to articulate what that problems are and what can arise is really where you come in. I mean, the need for individuals and businesses to understand the ethical implications involved with AI is really what led you as a philosophy graduate to advising companies now. Give us an example of some possible implications in the real world that maybe people haven't thought about.
Oh, well, there are many of them. For instance, none of us really got a crash course on ChatGPT, and few people realize it was supposed to be a beta test. It was supposed to be a grand experiment that now suddenly we've got billions, and as of, well, most recent news stories within the past 48 hours, potentially trillions being sought to be invested in it. But we didn't really have any set expectations for parameters. In the past, our technology has always been more accurate than we are. That's why we use calculators. I mean, we're familiar with that concept. But for the first time, when it comes to generative AI, which is the kind of AI that allows us to, or kind of writes for us or creates images for us and accepts prompts in a language that sounds very much like I'm using talking to you, it's not as accurate. In fact, it can be far less accurate. It can make mistakes. Technology, we call them hallucinations. On the street, we wonder why it lied to us. So here's what we're doing when it comes to advising businesses and organizations. First, we have to do the primary stuff, which is, what is this technology actually meant to do? What was it supposed to do well? Now, what are you looking to do with it, which is a use case? How do you want to use it? Tell me what you want to do with it. And let's look at what it was actually meant to do, what you'd like it to do, and see where the intersection of those two things are. We also know it can make a large number of jobs significantly easier. It can reword emails and fix typos and do grand things that, honestly take up some bandwidth of our minds that could be better spent to other things. But when it comes down to it, that kind of efficiency, it also can, and we've heard much talk about this, consider how many jobs are at risk, or where can we streamline processes to make the most of this technology. And those things are appropriate not only for large organizations to tackle, but small businesses who have been largely left out of the conversation, the dialogue, the suggestions, even the recommendations. Is how do I do it when I'm not someplace like OpenAI, Meta, Facebook? If I'm not a large tech company like Google, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
And how do I do it right or good? And when we talk right or good, we're on ethical ground and we're headfirst into philosophy.
Interesting. I mean, small businesses, we weren't even invited to the table. I mean, to have the discussion, really, quite honestly. The need, really, I mean, if we like it or not, AI is here. Are
Yes.
businesses quickly realizing the need to implement AI into their business model? And is this really where you can come in and help?
Well, I can come in almost at any stage that you can imagine. Most of the problems facing our world today, from return to work to DEI, and by the way, it needs the A for accessibility, all of the issues generally that businesses are facing right now have ethical components to them. Do we work from home? Do we demand people come to an office? We offered them a position when remote was everything, and now suddenly they live in a different state, but I want their job in person. Those things all overlap. But then we add this AI piece to the puzzle, and now the puzzles become more complicated because now people can do work remotely, or maybe they can use AI to do their work. But do we give them permission to use AI? Do we know how they're using it when they use it? Did we give any guidelines, any parameters? Did we even tell the small business owners what the guidelines were to get to their people? So when it comes down to this conversation of where do I enter wherever there's a pain point, wherever there's something not working. Even if it's, I don't know where to begin, I can set you on a path for how to begin in a right or better way. I would like to say a better way because, right, gets complicated. But a better way. How do we begin this work? Where do we get started? Or I already began this work and it's a train wreck. Or I told them I wasn't beginning this work, but my people are doing it anyway. All of those are happening.
I mean, so you're really able to meet them wherever they're at in that journey through AI. I mean, we all exist in this age of swift technological progress. It is hard to keep up, really. How is your training delivered? Is this done in person, remotely, or a little bit of each?
Anything and everything. I also meet you where you are for that. If you want to just have me come in and give a talk so that you can start having different kinds of conversations about this kind of technology or innovation, we can do that. If you want me to do facilitation, we can do that. If you want me to work with a specific team, let me know. I will meet you where you're at, and I can match pace to where you are and recognize where you're going. One of the things few people understand about philosophers is that we have something like a 75% admittance rate into law school. I have a legal mind, but it's focused on people, society, what's good, fair, just, but with a legal mind. So it's kind of a unique vantage point to be in. I can talk to your legal advisors. I can talk to your attorneys. I can talk to your chief technology officer, or information officer, and I can talk to your teams with boots on the ground. My question is, where do you need me? And if you think you don't, let's have a conversation because there might just be something that got missed.
Interesting. I mean, your training includes policy development, best practices, exploring use cases, copyright issues, user rights, and so much more. Does AI affect really more areas than people probably realize?
Oh, so many more areas than people realize. People think AI is, Chat GPT, but AI has actually been used to make our HR decisions. We're using AI in courtrooms to make sentencing recommendations currently in the United States. AI has been out there and prevalent for a long time. And one of the most complicated issues is this idea that AI is only this or only that. It's got many components, from robotics to finance to legal. If you pick a domain, AI is already there. Yeah. Whether you've noticed it or it's been obvious or you could interact with it consciously might be a second question.
You see it up in front of you, but what's going on behind the scenes is even more so. I mean, you are really reshaping the collective ethical stance as we face the challenges of massive progress. I imagine this is new and overwhelming for most companies today. Is that what you're kind of finding?
I'm finding that people are wickedly excited about it. Equally concerned and somewhat scared or terrified of it. Both. And yet, they're like, I want to do so much with it, but I'm so scared it's all going to go wrong and become this horrible, to use regular terms, dumpster fire, So I coined this phrase, I call it smart excited. Be excited, but have your mind in the game. Be excited, but be prepared to think about what you're doing, the implications of what you're doing, and, well, from a philosophical standpoint, the consequences of what you're doing, as well as what the rules about this should be, and what it says about your company by how you use it, how you engage with it, what you do with it, because that's an ethical stance too. And more, especially as the younger generations like Gen Z and millennials are involved, more and more of those generations are starting to look at what kind of company I'm doing business with. What kinds of things have they embraced? What kinds of things have they rejected? And every time you take a stance with technology, it's another evaluation not only of how you use technology, but who you are as an organization and what that means to your brand, what that means to your identity, and what they're supposed to take away from that. So there's a much larger message in how we're engaging with this technology beyond, I didn't receive a complaint about this. There's also do I trust them when they come out with policies? Do I believe their cookie box when they give me one? Why does their cookie box all or nothing instead of shades of gray? Even just one shade of gray? Can I have something between black and white? So people understand this almost on an intuitive level. I understand it more on a systematic level, but where their intuition and my systematic approach combined, you get capabilities and you get trust and you get brand if it goes right.
You're taking them into a little bit deeper level. I mean, you like I say, be excited, but go forward with intent and the correct intent. Your advisement is not afraid really to delve into critical issues like human rights, conscientious development, and technology mediated information. Are you able to really customize that training, like you say, to really meet each company's needs? And would you say, is it small business or all the way to large or across the board?
Well, of course, because some of the issues, whenever we look at ethical issues and, it's the primary debate, it's like, well, we're all so different. So how can this work? This company needs something different than that company, etc. Whenever I see something like that, I start telling people to focus on the commonality before you get to the difference. Everyone, for the most part, let's hope, wants a pretty good brand. They want to be recognized for doing good things. They want to be seen as an authority in their field. We can speak to that. We also have certain basic care given to our customers, our clients, or those that we interact with. We can build from that to get to more of a rights-based view. We can build from that to deal with risk. If you're dealing with financial information, risk is going to look different from you or to you than if you're not doing financial kinds of negotiations or work. But that's okay, because there are still unifying themes in finance. There's still unifying themes in, say, healthcare AI. You have to look for those themes and speak to those themes, but those differences can work for you too, because they can set you apart in the best of ways. They don't have to be things that say, well, we need to give up now. Instead, we can use those as kind of our marching orders or our path forward. But you have to find the commonality first and then figure out really how much difference there is. It will be less than you expect. And then where do you want your voice to be in that difference? And that's where the real strength of doing ethics comes in.
Interesting. I mean, your focus on ethical technology and worldwide influence really is what drives you to empower both the individuals and businesses across the globe. So, how does someone get started with you? What is the first step?
What most people have done is they've just found me on LinkedIn and send me a DM. I'm notorious for answering my DMs. I try not to avoid people or leave them unread if I can help it. It does not mean spam the heck out of me. Please don't. Please don't pitch slap. Let's not do that. But if you have legitimate questions, I pride myself on being accessible. One of the ways that I really got into this area was I had like, I called it the summer coffee chats. I had something like 80 coffee chats one summer. I pride myself on being accessible, able to talk regular language to regular people. Yeah. And, somebody you'd bump into, and it's happened, bumped into you at a coffee shop. So pretty much if you open the door, I'll come through it. What I need to know is that your door is open. And for that, well, all you have to do is tell me that it is. So you can email me, you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me through my website. We're going through a huge site design. Hopefully in about a month it'll go live. So I'm trying to find myself in as many places as I can. From global talks, I'll be in Thailand in April. That sounds like fun. I was in Portugal this past June, but I'm also at my local coffee shop once a month, meeting with people in my hometown.
You're out there high tech touching people, but also face to face, really a combination of both. I mean, you not only provide training, facilitation, and fractional services, but also through your speaking engagements, you illuminate the ethical landscape by sparking conversations while offering insights. How do they book you when it comes to speaking engagement?
Honestly, that's usually email and again LinkedIn DMs. I've laughed that LinkedIn DMs have become my primary inbox, despite having to move all my messages from DMs back into my email afterwards. But if you look for me on LinkedIn, I'm under Al Miller Ethicist. All you have to do is send me a DM or send me an email and say, you know what, I'm interested in you for this talk. And you know what? I reply and we have a conversation about that, what that looks like. But I really do pride myself, and I think it's an important element of philosophy. Philosophy is considered the great conversation. And I use conversation as the bedrock of everything that I do. It seems to be our starting point. It seems to be where I leave you with ideas of things to take and move forward. But that's also another part that I think is super important, which is I hope that after every conversation that I have with someone, they already have something that they can do before the conversation ends. I hope never to leave you empty-handed or for you to stop a conversation with me and go, oh God, now what do I do? You should already know. I should have already helped you figure that out. But it's a conversation, it's a partnership, and that human connection is so important when we're talking about things like this.
Definitely the foundation of education is really, like you say, a conversation that people come together. I mean, be it cohorts, contract services, or training, you have continued to educate the public. What can we now expect to learn from the book, AI Ethics in Action?
Oh, that's the fun thing. That's the project that just keeps on giving. I'm working on a book right now, obviously, AI Ethics in Action. And what do you expect to learn in that book? I'm hoping in that book that everyday users of AI find beneficial information in that book. I think we're talking as much as we can to business owners and business leaders. We can't use the people who use this technology, can't leave them out of the conversation. But if you're a business owner and you're looking to use this technology, I explain things from how frameworks work and how to make them actionable so that you actually end up with actions to take that are measurable and ethical, so that you can actually make smart goals based on ethics. You can learn about what the difference is between a computer scientist, a data scientist, an ethicist, and an attorney. You can learn how to operationalize ethics across your organization. You will get cheat sheets, worksheets, Really, it's about the doing of ethics. It's about what I call the applied practical part. It's boots on the ground AI ethics. It's not admired in theory, although there's some of that. But it really is meant to be like a how-to guide of how do I get started? How do I understand what ethics is? How do I understand who I need in this role? Okay, they said frameworks. Okay, frameworks, I looked at frameworks. There's 7 words. How do I go from 7 words to knowing what my cookie box should look like? I show you how. And then I show you how to do it across your organization. I show you how it impacts your users. I show you how it impacts you. We talk about rights. We talk about risk. We even talk about a relationship with technology. It is pretty much, well, a mind dump of where I am as of now and everything that I can think of that could help you. And I'm trying to pack it all into, well, about a 300-page book. I'm giving my editors a run for our money, but you know what? They're up to the task, and it's actually, that's the cool part too. It's actually being published by Pact. I'm under contract, and Pact is a technical publisher. So you have a philosopher writing ethics for a publisher that speaks to technology. So we're really getting the hybrid together of how do you actually do this? And that's what it's about.
I can see why that's an ongoing project for you. I mean, it just keeps giving. Laura, NextGen Ethics is innovation plus purpose for our modern world. Is this goal to innovate, transform, and impact rewarding for you?
It's rewarding for me because we get a better world. We get people who are treated better, organizations that recognize that treating people better is possible. We can still pay attention, and by the way, I should say the quiet part out loud, we can still pay attention to profit, but it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive to the interests of people or to the interests of our world, or as though it's functioning in some kind of ideal society with an ideal user, when users are human and they're fallible and they make mistakes and they're not going to use things the way you want them to. We have to understand that this isn't some kind of ideal theory for some kind of ideal world with an ideal user. These are regular users, ordinary organizations that people want to be fantastic, that they'd like to give your business to or their business to. And in a world that desperately needs us to finally tackle what we should do instead of merely what we could do. And it might be just a matter of the fact that you can do what you had hoped to do, but there's a better way to do it.
Yeah.
So what I get out of it is a world that my students, my children, your children, the future, can finally see ethics in their world. It's part of why Gen Z has a mental health crisis that they have. It's because we've neglected all of these ethical issues for so long, devalued the degrees, didn't hire for them. There's no advertisements out there for ethicists, even though AI ethics is a thing and we know it. It's like, oh, we'll just move somebody else from another department into that role.
I mean,
But
your mission.
that's ethics informed, but that's not ethics proper.
I mean, your mission is definitely one that is needed out there. Great information you prepared for my viewers out there. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is her website. On the website, see all the services you can get. Basically, get some free AI training in her learning path, AI for everyone. If you're a consultant and maybe you're seeking AI expertise for your clients, you can partner up with her as well. When you're ready to combine innovation plus purpose for our modern world, simply book her services right there online or reach out to her on LinkedIn as well. Once again, that is NextGen Ethics, developing the world we want. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.